What's up, Fantasy A-Team Nation? I'm your host, Josh Jenkins, and tonight's video, we are going to focus on Week 4 waiver wire pickups. But before I start the show, I'd like to welcome my co-host, aka the Fantasy Guru, back to the show. Welcome back, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Josh. What's up, Fantasy A-Team Nation? Appreciate you all tuning back in and watching these videos. Before we get to this waiver wire video, though, man, my coach for my favorite team, the Chiefs, Andy Reid, had to go to the hospital after the game. So let's get some prayers and well wishes for my boy, Andy Reid. Would be greatly appreciated. We're going to need him back on the sideline in coaching capacity. So
absolutely.
Much love, Andy Reid.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good, man. What you got for your number one guy? Let's go. Top number one quarterback.
My number one, I don't know about yours, is Sam Darnold. He was 23 of 34 for 304 yards. He didn't have any passing TDs, but he had 2 on the ground. He played well. This week, they're going up against the Dallas defense, ranked 21st in the league. What are your thoughts?
Well, with that said, you know, Dak and Dallas are going to put up some numbers. So I look for Darnold to probably have similar yards, but probably definitely get a 1 or 2 passing touchdowns. And he is a dual threat quarterback, so they get in that red zone area, he's going to run one in. I think they're a team on the rise. However, Dallas is for real this year. They're the real deal. So I look for that to be a great matchup. If Darnold and them can hang with them, man, it ought to be a high scoring number for all of us fantasy people. So I like that. I like that pick. And he's available. So regardless if you play him this week, because it's a tough matchup, Darnold's the real deal, people. He's putting up solid numbers. So he's a guy you go pick up, stash him on your roster. When bye weeks come up, you have a viable option that's going to help you win that week. Winning those bye weeks is crucial in the middle of the season. So
yeah, I totally agree. He's only rostered in 6.6% of the league. So,
and you know he's a guaranteed starter. He's not starting because someone's injured. He's guaranteed starter. That's someone you want to go pick up and stash.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, let's jump right into number 2. I've got Jacoby Brissett. Last week, 32 of 49, 215 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He played well. He had 7 rushes for 37 yards, and they're going up against the Indianapolis defense, ranked 25th in the league. What do you?
Yeah, you know, my thoughts on that is he threw 49 times, people. So it's definitely they believe in Brissett. He's a great backup and could easily start on some other franchises. I think this week he'll have multiple TDs this week. It's going to be a shootout versus Indy. He's a great player and is another guy that, you know, going forward, depending on what's up with Wentz, bye week start here on week 6. So I don't know who you guys have as your starter. You might be able to stash him, but this still is a good matchup, and you could probably put up some pretty good numbers if you don't have a solid matchup with your quarterback. And he's available. I think he's rostered 0.1% of the league, so he's available. So
yeah, that is
something to think about going forward.
All right. Let's jump right into number 3. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. My number 3 is Jimmy Garoppolo. 25 of 40, 357 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. They're going up against Seattle's defense, ranked 16th in the league. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Well, with Garoppolo, man, he's just a precision quarterback. He happened to have the 1 pick, but he's precision. He was going against a pretty tough defense last week and still put up good numbers. He's available again, kind of like before. If he's available in your league, man, even if he doesn't have the best matchup this week, look down your bye weeks and see if he's a viable option for your quarterback that you have started. You could easily pick him up, stash him, and be ready for the bye weeks ahead. Not to mention that if you don't have the best matchup, you could start him this week. He's solid. He ain't going to win you your game all alone, but as long as he puts up solid numbers, it gives you a chance to win.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump right into number 4. I've got Big Ben Roethlisberger. He was 38 of 58, 318 yards and a touchdown. He's going up against Green Bay's offense, 27th in the league. It was a beast of a game he had this past weekend.
Yeah, but think about this: he's going against Aaron Rodgers. You think they're gonna lay down and die? No, they're gonna try to stay in this game, which means Ben threw 58 times last time against Rodgers. He could easily throw 45 or more times. This is a great pickup if you can pick him up and start him and or stash him. So I really like that. Their offense seems to be kind of heating up. So good pick, man. Good pick off the waiver wire, people.
All right, let's jump right into our number 5, our 5th pick, Matt Ryan. He was 27 of 36, 243 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He's going up against the 32nd ranked passing defense and the Washington Redskins. What would you like to add on that?
Well, he's only rostered 20.5% of the league, so you can go and get him. Like he said about his numbers, they're really solid numbers. He did get sacked 3 times. So with that said, in this matchup, it's Washington's defense, even though they're ranked 32nd versus the pass, they have a pretty good pass rush. So if they can get to him, if he can't stay upright, it'll be hard for him to, have great numbers. But I believe he will stay upright. And with that said, I think he'll easily throw for more than 300 yards, and he'll easily get his 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. I'd grab him and stash him on my roster if I could, especially with the upcoming bye weeks. He could easily. Again with Darnold, he's a solid starting quarterback. They're a pass-heavy offense. Look down, look at your starter and see if he's someone that could be put in on as a good matchup on the week that he could be the starter on the bye week. He's so good for fantasy numbers, he could easily become somebody that you start regularly. So pick him up and stash him if you need a backup.
All right. Did you have some honorable mentions for this week?
So my first honorable mention would be Daniel Jones, and here's why. I know he went 24 for 35 for 266 yards last week, and they're saying Saquon Barkley's healthy again. So with that said, this is what I had said in the last videos about Daniel Jones is with Saquon Barkley back, he's going to demand the defense's attention. It's going to open up more passing and play action for Daniel Jones. I look for him to not only have a good week this week, but weeks going forward for at least for fantasy numbers. He's another one that you could pick up, stash, and put on your roster for a start later. That's one of my honorable mentions. Probably my next honorable mention would be the Henneke from Washington. He's only rostered in 20% of the leagues. He only threw 14 for 24 and only had 212 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. So I think he's starting to figure out the offense, and they're all starting to gel. Antonio Gibson had a good game last week. So I just look for him to build on those numbers. And him and McLaurin and Logan Thomas are starting to build some chemistry. So with that said, I think he throws for 300 yards and possibly 2 touchdowns. So if you have a quarterback that has a bad matchup, you could go grab him and start it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So with my last honorable mention is Teddy Bridgewater. He's playing Baltimore, which has a 19th ranked defense versus the pass. He's available he's only rostered in 17.8% of the leagues. He went 19 for 25 for 235 yards. He had no touchdowns and he did have 2 sacks, but he's a very efficient player, great player. He's good to stash for upcoming bye weeks because his chemistry with Sutton and Fant is only going to get better. And when is Jerry Jeudy out for the season?
No, he's not scheduled to come off the IR to at least, I think, around week 8.
which is right when the bye week starts. So if he can come in and help, I'm just telling you, Bridgewater is starting to learn and heat up in this offense. We were question marked on the Denver offense. They have a good running offense, and now their passing is looking better and better every week. So, man, with that said, you could stash him. And I think with the running game getting better and better, it just means more numbers down the road for the passing. So I think he's someone you could pick up and have as a backup. And probably would help you out later on.
For sure. That offense definitely surprised me this year. And I don't know if they're actually that good, or their schedule is just that weak starting out. I'm sure we'll see when they get to the meat of the schedule what this team's really made of.
Yep, I think they'll get it together, though. I think they're a good fantasy points viable options.
All right.
So to our running backs, man, you were really high on Alexander Madison, so we have him as number one. He's rostered at only 49.6%. He's going against the third-ranked defense in Cleveland. You can pick him up if you can, man. He's a stud. How many yards did he have last week? 78 or what was his numbers last week?
They weren't too good of numbers.
What did he do?
It was 6 of 8. Oh, let me back up. Excuse me. He had 26 rushes for 112 yards.
That's what it was. He had 26 carries, people.
Mm-hmm.
So that going forward, he's installed in the offense and he's solid. So that's our number one pick there. I was wrong about the yards on the 178. I was confused. Sorry about that. So the number 2 guy I got on here, which is probably everybody's clamoring for, is Cuba Hubbard, taking over for McCaffrey in that offense. McCaffrey's out. He's going against the 8th rush in defense versus Dallas, but he's only rostered in 2.3. So if you have a chance to be the top waiver wire, you can grab him. He was 11 for 52 yards, 3 receptions for 5 targets, 27 yards. He had 2 red zone targets. I think he goes off even against a tough rushing defense. They're going to have more time to install him with the number ones. He was thing about McCaffrey last week was the one who got all the reps with the ones. He's going to have reps with the ones this week. I look for him to go off.
Yeah, he's going to have to. He's all Carolina's got with McCaffrey out.
And while we're speaking on this, didn't Dan Arnold get traded to Jacksonville this week? The tight end for Carolina? I believe he did.
I am not for sure. I think he played Sunday, but I'm not.
I know, but I believe after that he was traded. I'm pretty sure. We'll check about
that. Was that did that trade involve the safety coming up to Carolina?
It must be. I'm not for sure. We'll get more info about that. Didn't mean to chime in with that, but I do remember reading that.
Right.
So, all right. So with that, next I've got Sony Michelle as my number 3. He's going against Arizona, 14th ranked defense versus the rush. He's available in 32%, or he's only rostered 32% of leagues. He had 20 carries for 67 yards, 3 catches on 4 targets, 12 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he is starting to be installed more in their offense. With 20 carries, he's good for a running back number 1, I believe. If he starts to produce more yards and more touchdowns, I believe in McVay's offense, this is exactly what he's been looking for after Henderson went down. He's building their trust and chemistry with them. McVay traded for him for a reason. And with Henderson injured, you can see him starting to get some of that production. So I think if you can go grab him, he's a good backup that you can plug in for bye weeks.
I agree. I totally agree with that. He's got big shoes to fill, Henderson being out. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, though, with that rib injury.
You never know, man. If he's doing well when he comes back, McVay will just make packages for both of them, make them both fresh, running them in and out.
Yeah, very true.
Number 4, I got Darrell Patterson. So this guy's a super unique guy. He plays versus Washington this week, 7th ranked defense. He's rostered in 47.9% of the leagues, but if you can get him, you should go pick him up. He is a running back, however, he gets touches all over the place. He returns punts. He catches the ball a lot. He runs the ball. So here's his stats from last week. He had 7 rushes for 20 yards, which isn't too many yards. 6 receptions on 7 attempts or whatever, 82 yards, and then he returned the ball for 40 yards. So he's just one of those guys. I'm not saying he's a gadget guy because he actually is a solid player, but he's somebody that you can pick up now, use him or he's used in so many different facets of the game. He's like a triple threat. So you can pick him up, stash him on the bench, and look for good matchups and play him.
Absolutely. He's very athletic. More than just a dual threat. You said triple threat. So
yeah,
I agree.
He does, kick and punt returns, man. He's amazing.
All right.
Okay, so my number 5 is Nyheim Hines versus Miami, 21st ranked defense versus the rush. He's rostered 32% of the leagues. He only had 6 rushes for 25 yards, but he did get a TD. And then he had 5 receptions on 6 targets for 54 yards. Didn't get in the end zone then, but it just shows he's a dual threat. And Jonathan Taylor's kind of having his sophomore slump a little bit, or it's just the fact that they're trying to mix up the defense so they don't, key in on him. He's a great option for someone if you need to fill a role, especially for a bye week. And go back and look at Nyheim Hines. Anytime they're behind in a game, man, they feed this guy the ball out of the backfield. So I think he's another guy, great pickup if you can pick him up.
Absolutely. Is that it on our running backs?
That's it on running backs. We're ready to switch to wide receivers.
All right, well, let's dive right in. This first and second pick could flip-flop either way. They both play on the same team. So first, I want to start off with Emmanuel Sanders. He went 5 for 6, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 red zone target. And then Cole Beasley, he was 11 of 13, 98 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had 5 red zone targets. Okay. So, and they're both going up against the Houston defense, ranked number 9 against the pass. Both wide receivers stand a good chance of having big games, I do believe. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Oh, I agree. Both these guys are in a hot offense, if not on fire offense. It seems like Allen and Sanders, since he's new there, starting to get some good chemistry and trusting each other on the routes that they're running, which means, big numbers for Sanders and big numbers for his fantasy owners. Also with Cole Beasley, they trust him so well, especially 5 targets in the red zone. They trust him, and they throw the ball to him 13 times. So when you get that many chances to get the ball, he's installed heavily in their offense. So as long as he stays healthy, he's a great pickup. Matter of fact, either one of these guys you could pick up, play them probably this week, and or stash them for your bye week. So we're giving you 2 really good options in a hot offense, if not on fire. So
yeah, I agree. I totally agree. My number 3, number 3 and number 4 could easily flip-flop for me as well. Because they both play on the same team.
I agree.
Although I believe I'm going to give the nod slightly to Christian Kirk. 7 of 8, 104 yards, 0 touchdowns. He had 1 red zone target. And then you got AJ Green, 5 of 6, 112 yards. Again, he didn't have a touchdown as well. They're going against the Los Angeles Rams, ranked 18th against the pass. There's so many targets out there in Arizona.
There is. So with that said, I agree with your assessment, but here's what I got. So, but okay, Christian Kirk is rostered in 43.3%. AJ Green's only rostered in 7.7%. So a lot of you guys that are looking for a backup and a hot offense, AJ Green's probably going to be easier to find. But with that said, Kirk, if you can get him, he is probably the better of the two. And here's why. Murray and he have like a great chemistry. They used to play together in college, so they're like in the zone together, you know. So they just have a knack for finding each other and knowing where each other are during the play in the offense. And then on the flip side, AJ Green's a veteran. He's not being double teamed because of Hopkins, and he's a big body. So he's going to get a touchdown this week. I guarantee it. He's a big body. He's going to get more red zone targets. Both these guys, if you have a chance, hell, pick them both up. I don't know. They're in a hot offense. There's not a lot of guys you can get that are in hot offenses. I know there's a lot of guys that distribute the ball there, but Murray does a good job of distributing it, and they have a high-powered offense. So, again, here's two guys you can pick up. If you don't even play them this week, you can stash them for your bye weeks to come. We're giving you guys good players, man. Pick them up.
Number 5 on my list, I've got Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
The dude went 5 for 5 for 98 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, though, but he was a big help for Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos.
I agree. And we talked about Bridgewater earlier in their offense and stuff. And Tim Patrick has stepped up and started showing that he's definitely someone he can rely on the long ball. So I think he's a great player and a good player to pick up for a backup. Now, my guy that I had was Jacoby Myers. He's playing Tampa Bay, and they're the 32nd ranked defense. It's going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to get a chance for him to get a lot of targets. He's only rostered in 21.5% of the leagues. And here's why I say he's going to get a lot of targets. Tampa Bay and them are going to go for a lot of points, or even if not, New England's going to be playing from behind and have to throw the ball. Last week, Myers got 14 targets. He is 9 of 14, 94 yards, and no touchdown. This kid is a baller. He seems to have great chemistry with Mac Jones. I look for him to go over 100 yards this week and get a touchdown. He may even get 2 touchdowns. So I like this kid. I'd pick him up, maybe even play him this week because of the matchup. And if not, stash him, because moving forward, if he continues to get 10-plus targets, dude, he's at least a viable 2 option in your wide receiver if you're hurting the wide receiver position or a flex position.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if after last week's game, Tampa Bay, against the Rams, where the secondary of Tampa Bay's defense got torched. Is Bruce Arians going to have that fixed? Or is he going to let Mac Jones and Jacoby Myers light it up as well?
Hey, we will see. We will see this week in the game, huh?
Yep.
All right, let's get to the tight end waiver wire part of this video.
All right. Number 1, and I think it's pretty.
We don't have a lot for you people. We don't have a lot, just a couple. But go ahead, start off. Number 1.
I think it's a consensus that Dalton Schultz from the Dallas Cowboys would be the number 1 tight end this week on the waiver wire. 6 of 6 for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 red zone target. He's only rostered in 6.4% of the league, so he's pretty much out there for anybody who wants him. So go out there and grab him.
Man, people, we've been talking about this guy too. We talked about him before the league even started. He was one of our tight end guys that we liked. We've named him in the waiver wire videos before. We knew that he was going to be able to have these type of numbers just by the way Dak and the offense is heated up in such a power offense. And he showed it this last week. So I agree, man. He's playing Carolina's D, which is pretty tough. But this kid's a baller, man. He's tough. So with that said, man, they're for real there in Dallas. So I think he has another solid game. He'll probably get a touchdown. And if I was you, if you're weak at your tight end position, man, pick this guy up, dude. Pick him up now. May not be, what do you say, whatever you said, 6.4% roster.
Yeah,
I guarantee he has another game this week like this, dude. You'd be lucky to pick him up the next week. So I'd pick him up if I could. And even if you have a better tight end, he's a great tight end too to stash and have ready for your bye week.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. There's just something telling me that this game, the Cowboys, they're going to expose Carolina.
Dude, they're going to the playoffs, man. They might. I'm not a big Dallas fan at all, but Dak and those guys for real.
Yeah, I don't even expect this game to be close. I think it's going to be I wouldn't be surprised if it ain't something like the Philly game, the score.
Right, I agree.
This is going to be the toughest test that the Panthers have faced so far this year, and I just don't think it's going to be good.
I mean, it's a good thing Carolina has a good D. We'll see what's up.
Yeah. Number two.
I got Conklin. Who do you got?
Yeah, I've got Conklin as well.
He's Cleveland, 13th ranked versus tight ends. He's only 0.5 roster, so anyone can go grab him. He was 7 for 8 for 70 yards and a touchdown, 3 red zone targets. Cousins and he is starting to build a lot of chemistry there. This offense in Minnesota is heating up. There's another great guy to grab and stash and put as your backup tight end, or if you're weak there, you could start him this week.
I agree. That offense was on fire this past weekend.
And the week before, too. The week before they had a great – go back and look at the numbers. Cousins had a great week the week before, too. So,
yeah, he come out slinging the ball Sunday.
He sure did.
So he's just another piece to the puzzle that Cousins has got besides Thielen.
Oh, and he's also
Jefferson.
got Jefferson. Yeah. And then that new kid, that KJ Osborne, he's going to be in the mix too. You watch. He didn't have such a great game this last game, but you watch. The kid's stud. He's got talent.
I agree. All right, let's jump into my third pick. And you may have the same guy. I've got Dawson Knox, 49 yards and a touchdown. He's only rostered and 0.7% of the league, folks. So he is definitely there for if you want to pick him up. Definitely there.
Definitely pick him up, man. I know that he isn't getting a lot of targets, but listen, he had a great game. I believe he and Allen are building up a great chemistry there. Look for another solid game. When they have Diggs and Beasley doubled up and covered, he's the safety blanket. Pick him up for the upcoming bye weeks. I mean, he's maybe not as studly as some of these other guys that we've said today, the Schultz and Conklin. But I mean, I'm guaranteed he's going to give you solid numbers as a backup. And if you're weak at tight end, or your tight end got hurt, just pick this guy up and start him. You'll get your points.
Yeah, I totally agree. My number 4, it was really close between him and Knox. He had a great game last night for Philadelphia. Zach Ertz,
sure
4 of 7, 53 yards and a touchdown. He also had 1 target in the red zone. He's registered at 19.8% of the league, so he's pretty much out there as well. If you
about Ertz, right?
Yeah, Zach Ertz, yes.
Yeah. Yes, you saw how they worked in that offense there in Philly. Goddard we already know about, but they're going to run a 2 tight end set to help protect Hurts in case. So, yeah, he's another good, viable option if you need a second tight end.
And my number 5, I've got Austin Hooper. He was 2 of 3 for 19 yards and a touchdown, 1 red zone target. He is rostered in 39.5% of the league. So, it's getting harder to be able to pick him up. But he was another one that had a pretty good game this weekend. So if you need a tight end.
Yeah, he could definitely be a good backup depending on where you pick him up, where you would need him for your bye week. So, he's a solid stud. He's due for a big game. So definitely if you need to pick him up as a backup, pick him up if you have a spot on your roster.
Well, folks, there you have it. We have give you all the stats of the players that we feel can be most beneficial for your fantasy week this week.
Yeah, for the waiver.
Yep, for this waiver wire video. So if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe. And remember, friends don't let friends auto draft.